hard for us to remember when we were simply a soul, hanging out in the universe, enjoying our experience, looking down at this planet Earth. And perhaps we would wonder, what would it be like to just slide down through time and space and the density of matter and arrive on this physical, vibrantly beautiful planet filled with light and color and sound and water and sunshine and all of these adventures wide open for us to experience in the physical form. Each of us guiding one another and walking side by side in community. What would that journey be like? Welcome to Healing Our Souls. Welcome to Healing Our Souls. It is a pleasure to introduce to you GuruGanesha Singh, who is here to talk to us about his journey and to share with us the reflections that you have gathered along your path. To be completely transparent, we have spent the last half an hour making the technology flow with our own divine plan. So we are arriving here in this space to share and to talk. What I would love to do, well, first, welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor and a joy and a privilege to be with you today, Viv.
Thank you. Oh, likewise. So I will start with how I met you the first time. I began Kundalini Yoga maybe 6 months ago. I started doing the Kirtan Kriya chant every day.
Satnama, right?
Yes, and it has been changing, life-changing. It's really such a beautiful grounding for me every morning.
Yes. The fingertips that you press, it massages the 4 zones of the brain, so it's very balancing.
It's incredible. And I've read the research on Alzheimer's, that it's helping patients. Yeah. So
there are people that are, doing it for that reason, but it kind of gives the brain a massage, and even the brain needs a massage, not just the body.
Yes. Well, and I find, I'm digressing for a moment, but I find for myself that, I can feel energy. I think the design is that you're supposed to see it flowing. Yes.
The L shape, yes.
Yes. I also feel maybe it's the pressure of that, but it feels like it moves junk out the bottom of my body, like it clears.
Yogi Ji said it would clean the subconscious mind, so that's perhaps what you're feeling. But it's like Roto-Rooter for the consciousness. Yeah. And particularly the subconscious mind has all sorts of bizarre stuff trapped in there. And it's good to give it a little cleaning every now and then,
Yes. I feel that. It's just a good calming for my body. So I started with Kundalini Yoga many months ago, and my instructor had told us probably 2.5 months ago, she said, there's this band and they're coming to Cincinnati and everyone needs to go, and if you've never heard them, you need to look up their music. And she said it was going to be a night of chanting, and I had never experienced that before, only chanting within the yoga class. And the first time I sat down and we chanted in yoga, I started to cry. It was just this knowing of I've done this, my soul knows this. And so she said,
beautiful tears.
Oh, releasing, yes. So she said a whole night of chanting. I'm like, I'm there. I'm going to go. And so 2 of my friends and I came, and we didn't know at the time it was your birthday. It was your birthday.
I was very fortunate to celebrate my birthday in Cincinnati with all of you.
Yes. Do you want to share how that happened, and we'll go from there?
Oh, sure. Well, I met Susanna and Indra. Susanna is also Nav Kiran. In Chicago, I was teaching a prosperity workshop, and they came. And at the end, Susanna was very firm in saying that I was coming to Cincinnati to do a concert. And, she's a powerhouse. And the minute I heard it, it was like a hookum from the divine. And I had no choice but to say, bow and say, yes, I'm coming. So then we spent some months working out the details and put together this beautiful, because I'm doing music at this stage of my life as a savior to serve the planet. So we decided the beautiful, that she has this beautiful philanthropic endeavor that she's involved in, which is the orphanage in India. And I mean, she has a personal relationship with the 60 children that, you know, live in Ramana's Garden, the orphanage. And she's just so committed. They're like her children, and she has X number of them ready now to get higher education and things. So she is a force. And I thought, what a beautiful way for the music to serve. So it was more serendipity that it ended up on my 66th birthday. But I like to do a concert that the year prior I gave a free concert in Northern Virginia where I live here on my birthday, because on the Sikh path, which I embraced in the early 70s, the idea is on your birthday is the best time to give. It's not that you don't receive, but it's more important to give. So I thought what a beautiful thing to do on my 66 would be to help raise a whole bunch of money so these beautiful children in India have a future. I mean, they're going to have a future anyways, but they should have the same opportunities that our children have.
Yes. Yes.
For education and things like that.
You said that so beautifully from the stage, but it was in such a humble way that you shared that. You know, we were just there because it was going to be a great evening of chanting, and then for you to say, oh, I don't think you even said it, your friend said it. One of the band members outed you.
Yeah, oh, about the birthday.
Yes.
I wasn't necessarily going to make a big, there's a certain point where you start celebrating every 5 years, you know. We had a big deal for my 65th last year, and I'm thinking, well, let's let this next few slip. Maybe at the big 7-0 we'll celebrate again, but they outed me, so.
It was beautiful.
What can you do? And, you know, there's love coming in your direction. I've also learned to embrace it, you know.
Yeah.
So you got to give it and be willing to receive it.
Yes, yes, what a beautiful statement, because so many of us give out, and then we don't allow it back in.
That's right. That's right. And it's important. It's important because it completes the cycle.
Yes.
Because it allows other people to give, which is a beautiful thing, too. You can't be the one that completely is greedy to be doing all the giving. Yes. Let others give, too, you know.
Yes. Well, on the receiving side, it was an amazing evening, you know, for my friends and I who didn't know chanting or haven't been used to the kinds of music that you produce. Just seeing the joy, that's what struck us the most. We were in the front row to the side, and we were just watching your faces as you were performing. It was just joy flowing out of all of you.
Yeah, it is. I feel so fortunate that, you know, at this point in my life, and I've played music almost my entire life, to be playing in collaboration with these beautiful souls who are, you know, the band has become kind of as close to being egoless as you can. And that's the key to really beautiful music is, you know, everybody is serving the sound current, and the intention of the sound current is to touch and uplift people. Versus worrying about how you're being perceived and who's the star and this and that. So it's been a beautiful, joy-filled experience to be, you know, playing with, you know, my bandmates.
So perhaps we start with that. This is a new venture for you, the GuruGanesha Band. You've had a long career in all varieties of music. Perhaps you want to go back to where it began. You shared this with us from the stage, but if you don't mind sharing again.
Well, it began, you know, I was born in 1950. So, you know, I experienced the late 60s, you know, right up in the front row, you know, actually participating. And, but in 68, I went to college at Clark University in Worcester, Mass. And, you know, and there I had the people I was attracted to loved the Grateful Dead. And they loved the kind of the group conscious jam band mindset of the Grateful Dead. So, and also, you know, I was introduced to, you know, oh God, what's a graceful way to phrase it? But, you know, I was introduced to acid rock, let's just say. And so, you know, I had been playing guitar from the time I was 8 years old. And the music was so inspiring to me, and I consider Jerry Garcia, who was, the lead guitar player for the Grateful Dead, as my first guru, my first spiritual guide. Because, and I went to see them live on many occasions. Sometimes their music would open doors of consciousness that I'd never experienced. I'm not even sure they were aware of what they were doing for so many of us. And so I got inspired to, get my guitar out of the closet. And I started a rock and roll band at college there. We called it Cat's Cradle. And for the next 3.5 years, I barely went to any classes. I got so into the band, and we were in the acid rock genre, and we tried to live up to the genre even during rehearsals, which probably wasn't the greatest idea. But after 3.5 years of that, the band got quite good, and we had a record contract with a reputable label in New York City. We had made a demo album. We had opened for bands like the Allman Brothers and Sha Na Na and Iron Butterfly. And there looked like there was a genuine career path for us at that point. But also I'd gotten into some very bad habits in terms of, consumption of drugs, particularly psychedelics. And, just got to the point where, and I think this was the voice, the soul usually speaks to us in a very gentle, quiet voice. But my soul, I think, was very concerned and was literally screaming to me and saying, hey, man, you better find an alternative way to feel uplifted or you're going to die. And others were dying. Dwayne Allman, who we'd done some touring with in the Allman Brothers, had just killed himself in a motorcycle accident. And rumor was that he was on LSD. And so a lot of stuff was going on. It was a big wake-up call for our whole generation. And so my soul was crying out that I needed to find an alternative way. And simultaneous to that, there were some great teachers in India, teachers of yoga and meditation like Yogi Bhajan and Swami Sakshidananda and Muktananda and others, who were, their teachers were telling them to go to the West because a whole generation of young people were destroying their nervous systems with drugs. So I was fortunate right about that time in late 71, early 72 to run into Yogi Bhajan, who was a master of Kundalini Yoga and meditation. Also happened to be on the Sikh path, was born into a religion called Sikhism, which is a newer world religion that's maybe 500-600 years old. And I was fortunate to be inspired, very serendipity, to go to one of his classes, and it was utterly, enlightening. I actually went to a Kundalini Yoga class first taught by one of his students who kind of looked like him, tall guy with a long beard and a turban on. But the class was so powerful, and at the end of the class, he had a musician with him from Puerto Rico, a young man who had an orange turban on in the beginnings of a beard, and he picked up a guitar and started playing this mantra, Guru Guru Wahi Guru Guru Ram Das Guru, and just like you described to me, before we started our conference here, it touched me so deeply. I had no idea what the words meant, and but tears started pouring out of me, and they were coming from a different place than other tears that I'd experienced as a human being. They were coming right from my heart center. And it was those tears and that feeling of the heart center opening that really inspired me to, move in the direction of this particular spiritual path. Because at the end of that class, I went up to him, and I thought he was Yogi Bhajan because the flyer said classes in Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. So I went up to him and I said, Mr. Bhajan. And he looked down at me and he laughed and he said, I'm not Yogi Bhajan. And I said, well, then I don't know who you are or where you came from, but how about taking me with you guys? And they looked at each other and laughed, and they said, well, actually there's an intensive starting at our ashram, yoga ashram, which was maybe 20 miles away from where I was taking the class. Would you like to come? And I'm like, absolutely. And that's how it all got started. That very weekend, I was with 60 other people in an intense Kundalini Yoga retreat where we started every morning getting up at 3 in the morning. They told me we're getting up at 3, And I thought they meant 3 in the afternoon. And I said, well, hey, that's no problem. That's when I currently get up. Because I'm in a rock and roll band. We stayed up all night and would fall asleep in the morning. No, he said, we mean 3 a.m. I said, well, what did I get myself into here? But it was a powerful weekend. And I didn't quite join the ashram right then. But a week later, I went back to Worcester, Mass. to go back to college. And I was barely participating in college. And I get back there, and the first thing I saw was a poster for Kundalini Yoga. Serendipity.
Right.
There are no accidents. The minute I saw that, I said, well, I'm going to go to this class. And I hadn't known this prior, but there were 2 gentlemen who were going to college in the same freshman class as I was, who were Kundalini yogis and had started a little ashram in their apartment off campus. And when I went there for a class, at the end of class, the teacher, a guy named Steve England, introduced me to his comrade, I don't want to say, and who was painting a room. And I asked him, what's this room for? And he goes, perhaps for you. And sure enough, I said, well, that sounds great. And I moved in that room from the dorms a couple of weeks later, and I've been in the ashram ever since.
That's amazing. Was it Kundalini Yoga that brought you in first?
Yeah, it was Kundalini Yoga. Well, combination of the Kundalini Yoga and the mantras, because remember, it was hearing that mantra with guitar, with kind of Western music, and that just completely opened my heart. The yoga had opened me up for that experience. But it was the experience of mantra and chanting that finished the job for me in terms of getting me on the path. And soon thereafter, I was in a lot of duality because I gave up drugs. I ended up going to a meditation class that Yogi Bhajan was teaching, and he inspired me to get on a vegetarian diet. And it wasn't like he was moralizing. He was just saying, hey, you're having trouble meditating, you're a little hyperactive, and you should at least try 40 days with no foods that have uric acid in there, which is red meats and chicken, fish, even eggs to a certain extent. He said that uric acid is a nervous system stimulant, and that's why you're having trouble meditating. Try 40 days, get the uric acid out of your system, and you'll start to experience what meditation was. And he was right. After 40 days, I eliminated those foods, and I started having these beautiful, deep meditations. And then I was inspired to read Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda. I don't know if any of you or any of your colleagues, folks in your group have ever read that book, but it's mind-opening. And that introduced me to a whole new universe.
Yeah. What a shift. I mean, your entire life turned direction.
Yeah, I went from sex, drugs, and rock and roll to a whole different path, which gave, even in the short term, it gave me much deeper, more meaningful pleasure and fulfillment. It was spiritual pleasure, not just physical pleasure.
Did you stay in the States or did you travel?
Well, no, I stayed in the States in those early years, and because I was actually ended up moving to a big Kundalini Yoga ashram in Washington, D.C., where there was literally over 100 of us in our early 20s in the ashram, and so many musicians, because Yogi Ji really encouraged us to use our music. And I felt like I'd found the lost tribe, It just felt like home. And it was such a beautiful experience to be with, so many young, passionate enthusiasts. And we had a vegetarian restaurant where almost all of us worked there. And I immediately got the most honored position as the dishwasher. And where I learned the power and the beauty of karma yoga. And that was the real power of mantra, is not when you're sitting in a beautiful living room with 15 other beautiful souls chanting to beautiful instruments. It's when you're working your rear end off. Yes. And your negative mind is going, teacher's training, this is BS. Right. But you start chanting, and all of a sudden you're enjoying. Yes. Your work becomes a worship. Yes. So that's when I really discovered the power of mantra, and that's what my soul needed. With some hard work.
I was listening to one of my favorite mantras. You have a song called Ma.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I mean, just the melody of it, but then also the word, and then the later you say, "Bountiful am I, beautiful am I, blissful." Just repeating that, you can feel your entire body settle.
Well, on this path, we worship the divine feminine, and we worship the goddess energy that prevails through, every woman. And Ma is, let's face it, it's the first mantra that almost all of us learn is Ma. And Ma is the nurturer, and Ma, the divine mother, just, whether it's in human form or in nature, just constantly giving. I mean, look at the planet. We keep trashing her, and she just keeps giving and giving and giving. So, it's that culture that really recognizes the incredible nature of the Adi Shakti, the divine radiant goddess that flourishes. So I think, I think Yogi came here was reminding us, because let's face it, on a certain level, the culture objectifies all of us, but has particularly been objectifying women for a long time.
Can you speak more about mantras? Can you share more about mantras for people who hear it and think, well, mantra is some woo-woo thing you do, or how do you describe mantras?
It's positive vibration. It's like the mantra Satanama that you were doing in conjunction with the finger locks.
Yeah.
Sa means light, ta soul, and Nama I am. So basically, it's an affirmation. I am the light of my soul. I am the light of my soul. I am the light of my... it's not like you're trying to fight off other thoughts. But think of it. Really our life becomes a manifestation of the caliber of our thoughts. And some of us spend a lot of time in our fear body, in our ego body. And there's so much you could be anxious about. And then all of a sudden you take the power of the mind and you focus on a fear. False expectations are realized, and you can really magnify that fear. With a mantra, the idea is here, well, the mind is a thought machine. It's going to produce an infinite variety of thoughts, ranging from very low caliber, very high caliber. Mantras are very high caliber mental projections. So I'll sit, and sometimes, my thoughts will go, but I'll just link the mantra to my breath. Inhale Sa, exhale Nam, or use this Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. So, and you don't fight the mind, you just let the mind waves, move like a cloud in the sky, just moves away, but you keep bringing it back to this divine vibration. And the more your mind is focused on divine vibrations, because almost all the mantras basically say, inside you is a light that's brighter than 1,000 suns. And I've experienced that. There are even yogic exercises that you can do to experience a light at your third eye point that's brighter than 1,000 suns. And the more you spend time vibrating that kind of positive energy, the more you basically become that.
Yeah.
And so basically we've got our soul and we have our ego. And I embrace both of them because that's part of being human, but I try to spend the vast majority of my time over here in my soul body, which is not egotistical. It sees serving others as the highest thing that you can possibly do. It's where, your kindness is, your compassion is, your loving awareness, and your faith and trust that everything's going to be okay. And it's over here that, it's that part of self that thinks, God, I got to go out there and the pie's only this big and I got to get a big piece of that pie for me and my, nuclear family. But that's what's causing all the agitation and the lack of peace on the planet.
Yes.
So the more we're here, do the work that you're doing amazing work.
Yes.
The more we move the whole planet towards that, hitting critical mass. And I feel it because I travel all over the world. There are hundreds of thousands, millions of us working on this right now. And there are lots of different beautiful paths that get you over you know, so you spend more time on the soul team than on the ego team.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I mean, you're seeing it right in our, you know, in the politics of our country right now, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is the beauty of sitting in the audience watching you perform. I could literally see your spine like zigzagging with the energy. You would feel this. I don't know what you were feeling, but what it looked like from where we were, you were just like love, energy, joy was just like zooming up your spine and coming out your body. It was incredible.
Well, that's pretty much what's happening. When it's right, it's this zigzag Kundalini energy, and it's totally a co-performance with the audience. It's not a performance.
Yes, yes.
Because you guys were unbelievably responsive and joy-filled and celebratory, and that creates an exponentially greater experience for everybody, all of us, because we're all co-forming together.
Yeah.
You know, because I believe in oneness. I don't try to prove it. I just believe that there's one divine energy like a thread that prevails through everything and everybody. And I decided a while ago that if I'm believing in oneness, then I either have to trust that oneness or not. And I decided to trust that divine energy and the intention behind that divine energy. And when you trust it, you are in such beautiful alignment. Mm-hmm. It's interesting how life, it arranges all your affairs in the most beautiful way. Yeah. And when you're not in alignment, it's loving and merciful and keeps nudging you towards alignment.
Yes.
So towards seeing your videos. Right?
Yes, yes. Well, and it was interesting too because I lead group meditations, but they're virtual, they're on the telephone. And so I can feel the way energy is moving through the people that are on the call. I was watching you on stage with 200 people in the audience, and you brought all of our energy up. And we could feel it. Like the room was like, yes, because you were building to a crescendo in one of your songs. And then just like this, you just went, and there was this absolutely graceful, energetic drop, and everyone was just breathing in the same breath. It was stunning to watch you. I've seen energy management. I take
no credit for it because when you're in alignment, it's just using you. It's using me, and then sometimes we're like, wow, that was amazing. Did we record that? We should listen to it back.
Right.
We're being played.
Yes.
You know, and it's letting go of this, oh, it's me. That enables that kind of stuff to happen, you know. Because, you know, we go from individual consciousness, we're living just for ourselves, then we move into group consciousness where we're living for each other. And then you can move that into divine consciousness, where you see everything as your divine you, everything and everybody. And it can be a painful state on a certain level, because sometimes I'll watch news from Aleppo and Syria, this or that, and I'll be crying for the souls.
Who suffer.
You know?
Yes. Yes, I hear you.
And children. Yeah. You know, but, you know, you know, and part of you wants to do everything everywhere, but you know, we just have to serve in the way that the universe puts in front of us and try to send out that healing energy as best we can.
Yes, yes. Well, and what I have loved when I've researched a little bit about you, because I saw you and I'm like, who is this man in this band and what is this thing that they're doing? So I want to just read one paragraph that I found in an article about you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so this was in Yoga Technology. I don't have the date with me, but it must have been in the last year. And they say, GuruGanesha Singh, songwriter, musician, recording artist, entrepreneur and founder of Spirit Voyage and of the GuruGanesha Band, was an enthusiastic participant in the 1960s rock and roll explosion. When he embraced Sikhism and the Kundalini Yoga, he brought his love of Western music to the Eastern traditions of his new Sikh lifestyle. He was one of the pioneers of the new genre of Kundalini Yoga mantra meditation music, and since that time he has contributed greatly to its ongoing growth and development. I was amazed when I looked at the list of artists that you have mentored, guided, grown. Just to name a couple from my everyday playlist, Snatam Kaur, Bakan Kaur, Nirjan Kaur, did I say her name right? She does the Kirtan
Kirtan. The second thing that you said Sanatam and then who?
Bakan Kaur, is that how you? Bachan Core?
Right, Bachan.
This is a new language for me. I'm still...
I understand, yes.
I'm still pronouncing. I mean, you have mentored, along with your own talents, you've really created this whole new type of music that allows people to tap into spirituality in a different way. And I just want to thank you myself for what that has done for me, let alone, I don't know how many people listen to the music. It's incredible. So,
well, once again, I don't take credit for this. I mean, my prayer a long time ago became, in the morning when I take my cold bath, I do my Kundalini yoga, I sing, I chant. But then I'm down to one prayer, which is, "Thy will be done." And I'm praying that, I can be clear as to how I can best serve. And you really, when I started to surrender like that, the message because I had, since 1989, I've had a very successful mainstream business where I teach sales training, sales management training, negotiation training, conscious selling, conscious integrity-based approach to being a business person. And that has done extraordinarily well. And when I started praying for guidance, I wanted to find some ways to use some of the green energy that the training business had produced to even more directly serve the spiritual direction of the planet, which I believe is to embrace each other and embrace all the different paths and really not just honor but fully appreciate the diversity and even non-spiritual paths. I believe there's light in every being, even the ones that are claimed to be totally quote evil doers. I don't buy into that. Because I've met people who are supposedly evildoers, but when you sit in the living room with them and you get down to the core of what's going on and what drives them, it's same as everybody, love and fear. It's love and fear, and whenever you take the fear path, crazy stuff happens that's destructive not only for the limited self but the greater self. So I don't even know how I got into this answer, but. But it was from thy will be done. So it just came clear to me that I had to get the healing sound current that was in our community already, particularly Sanatana Kaur back in the 90s, And she, if you've heard her music, and you mentioned that you have, her voice, she's like an extraterrestrial. It can wrest tears from a stone gargoyle. And it's not that it's the most acrobatic voice on the planet. It's deep. It's coming from this deep place of connection. And it's a healing sound current. And I felt it was my responsibility to use some of the, resources that had been given to me as a gift over here in my sales training business to get this healing sound current from Sanatana and others like Niranjan and Jai Jagdish and Mirabai Save and so many others, to get that sound current out in wider distribution, because it's very universal sound current. You don't have to be a quote a seeker or Kundalini yogi to have that music touch you. I mean, we've gotten feedback from the nooks and crannies all over the world where people are using it to give birth. They're using it when somebody is leaving their physical body, and we're like astounded, like wow. So, but that's the same energy that you're serving with your programs. And there's so many of us now that are being inspired from deep within to serve that divine intention.
Yes.
And I honor all the paths.
Yes. So you started the record company as a way to mainstream, to bring forth the music?
Yeah. I mean, the funny story is that I started using some of the money to produce albums for Sanatana and Guru Singh, and we even got Seal to sing on some of the stuff. But the company really started when my wife asked for her garage back.
Nice.
She said, "I want my garage back," because it was filled with in those days when you made a record. You had to print at least 1,000 CDs. None of the companies would print less than 1,000. So the garage was filling. And then Ravi Inderkar, who's the wife of one of my bandmates and has been just hugely instrumental in all of this, was spending half of her time. She worked full-time running my training, but the administrative side of my training business. And she was spending a higher percentage of her time in the garage shipping CDs to yoga centers. So we finally, it was a wake-up call from my wife. We said, yeah, I guess this is real.
Yes.
People want this music, so we started the company, called it Spirit Voyage. The reason we call it Spirit Voyage, we wanted to acknowledge its universality. And all great spiritual paths take people on a spiritual journey.
Yes.
Within.
Yes. Yes. Well said. Well said. Oh, it's amazing literally just to see all the names in one place of who you have supported. You know, I know you're humbly saying you don't want credit, but it's hard to not give you credit for that work.
Well, these are incredible souls, and these people are so committed and with the same intention, which is, it's why the festivals that we do with the Kundalini Yoga artists are so beautiful, called Satnam Fests, because all the musicians come with the same, and their whole careers are dedicated to the same intention. Same as like festivals like Bhakti Fest too.
Yes.
All the artists are committed to using their music to serve, to touch and uplift. That's the intention behind the music, not to become, even though the ego mind starts thinking about, oh boy, it'd be nice to make a living doing what I love and all of that. But the soul is kind of got a little flamethrower on our rear end saying, get out there and serve the planet with this healing sound current, and make sure the music is healing and uplifting.
Yes, yes. So for those people who are watching who are more on the corporate side, they're more doers than beers, perhaps. I loved reading about your philosophy on sales. I spent my first probably 15 years after college doing sales on all different levels, and just reading a little bit.
You did really well.
I did well, but it was fun to hear your philosophy. So I would love, if you don't mind, could you share in whatever version you want to, like, how do you consciously sell? How do you consciously bring all of this knowing into business? Because it's possible.
First off, it starts similarly with the right intention. You know, it's like, if your intention is to go out there and line your wallets with other people's money, then the conscious and subconscious mind of the other person is not going to resonate. It's not going to trust. So the intention has got to be, I want to help my clients succeed. If you're selling products or services, and if your true intention is to help my clients succeed and get a great return, if they invest in my product or service, I only want to do it if I believe and they believe they're going to get a great return on their investment. So, in other words, you're in the business of providing solutions that hit the center of the target for what your clients are trying to accomplish, which means the front end of the process, the buyer-seller process, has to be, I don't know yet if we're right for you. I need to understand you.
Nice.
And what you're trying to accomplish in the areas where I may be able to help. What's working, what's not working for you currently, what's important to you, what's not important, what's your vision, where do you want to be, where are you now? Then I'm in a better position to speak to whether or not I think I can help. And I'm only going to talk about a solution if I really believe that I can help you. When you come from that place, it builds such incredible trust. And that's the most important thing in business. And it's got to be real. It's not, you can't be faking this to build trust, because the most important asset you have as a business person is the goodwill that you radiate. And every communication, every interaction, every voicemail, every email, every conversation, every text, regardless of how tense the business situation is, your communication should touch and uplift the other person and inspire them to be in their heart and in their soul. And that's, I'm actually in the process right now of writing a whole sales book called Conscious Selling, The Teachings of Guru Ganesha.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I've been doing this now for 27 years.
Yes. Well, and to toot your horn for you, because I don't think you will, from what I read, you've been top salesman of a company you founded yourself year after year. So you obviously know what you're doing.
Well, I've been fortunate, but I'm really, I don't ever feel like I need the business.
Yeah.
I feel like I only want to do business if it's true. Do business if it's truly in the best interest of both parties.
Yeah.
Because even in my darkest days, I had the deep abiding faith that the universe, had my back.
Yes. Yes.
So that way, because the minute you're doing business feeling like I need their business,
you lose integrity. Mm-hmm.
You lose integrity.
Yeah.
And people feel that people are incredibly sophisticated.
Yes. Even if they don't have the words to describe it, they know, they can sense that something is out of alignment. Yeah.
That's right. It's called intuition. Most important thing in sales is your personal presence. Yeah. It's the emotional impact you have on your fellow human beings, physiologically, tonality, verbiage. They can feel your integrity or lack of integrity coming through your physiology, coming through your tonality. So you have to be in alignment. You have to do your spiritual work. Now you're seeing some of the most incredibly successful people on the planet. For example, like the CEO of Salesforce, Mark Benioff, is got a beautiful meditation practice that he does, and he hosts some of the greatest Buddhist teachers from around the world in his home. And now those teachings, those beautiful teachings, are radiating through the corporate cultures of a lot of wonderful, wonderful companies.
Yes, which is a perfect segue to Sikhism, and I think how you were perceived. I was reading in one of the articles, you're the guy that comes in with a turban, and everyone's like, does he know what he's doing? Of course, right? It's just a reflection of your faith. So do you?
Well, it's a pattern interrupt too. I mean, Sikh just means student. Mm-hmm. And I realized a while ago that I have 9.1. I just found out I was saying 7.2, but I hear we're over 9 billion now of ourselves. Yeah. And I believe every one of those 9.2 billion people are my teachers. Mm-hmm. You're my teacher. Everybody's my teacher. Some people teach me what to do and good practices, and some people teach me what not to do, and oftentimes they're your best teachers.
Yes.
But you got to observe and watch, and you got to watch the law of karma in effect, cause and effect, and that there's a consequence for every sequence. And after a while, you start to be able to apply discipline. And even though you have an impulse to go in a certain direction that might give you short-term pleasure, your consciousness is walking you through. Well, if you pursue that impulse, here's what is likely to happen, and here's why it's not in the best interest of the planet, because ultimately that's what we want to make our decisions on. Is this in the best interest of our collective consciousness, our divine self that consists of all of us?
And we aren't seeing that, in much of the media. We're seeing a lot of the division and the separate, how each person is different from the other.
Well, they tend to shine the light on that because it gets higher ratings.
Right.
And the media is still, large portions of the media are still driven by the pursuit of dollars. But, there's some good things happening, like Oprah has created her network. In fact, she has this great show on Sunday called Super Soul Sunday. It may not get the highest ratings, but it's got the highest vibration.
Yes, agreed.
Those interviews are priceless.
Yes.
And sometimes when I need inspiration, and the easiest thing to do is hit the remote control, and my wife saves barely room for a football game on our VCR because she's saving so many of Oprah's Super Soul Sundays,
I love that. Well, and I feel like music is it does that same quick, energetic vibration raise, like it lifts you up so fast. That is what I've found.
I can bypass the intellect when the sound current is right.
Yes.
Boom, your heart opens, and that's why there's a whole lot of people that come to concerts who are what I call draggies. Perhaps, there's a couple, and perhaps the woman has been into yoga for years, and she's been trying to get her significant other to do yoga.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't do yoga. That was a little bit too tree-hugging. But she was able to persuade him to come to a concert. I had one of these guys at the end of a concert in Calgary up in Canada, comes to me afterwards and he says, "Hey man, you broke me." I knew what he meant because, you know, he kind of looked like Calgary is like the Cheyenne, Wyoming of Canada, rodeos and stuff like that. He had a cowboy hat on and a flannel shirt. He was in his early 60s, and he had a 4-day growth, not a 40-year growth, you know. And he had, you know, the cowboy boots, the blue jeans. And I knew what he meant, but I wanted to ask him, well, what do you mean I broke? He says, well, man, my wife's been dragging me to here to these chant concerts now for 4 years, but tonight, about halfway through, I realized I was singing. I'm like, get out of here, not you, man. Say it ain't so. When you realized you were singing, I'm assuming you stopped. And he goes, hell no. No, man, I'm embarrassed to say I sang the rest of the way. Aww. Your band broke us. And I tell that story a lot because inevitably there's somebody in the audience that'll come up afterwards, and it's usually a guy that says, well, you broke me. And he had the same story.
Yes.
So sometimes the sound current can all of a sudden, you know, bypass the intellect, tear open the heart chakra, and then all of a sudden, these folks that have their heart chakra opened are now starting to go, how do I get that feeling more often because it's such a beautiful feeling? And now maybe they'll go to a yoga class, whether it's Kundalini, Hatha, Vinyasa, whatever it is. You know, so many beautiful yoga classes, meditation classes, and paths out there.
Yes. I've been playing more chant music in the mornings, and I used to turn it off when my family would get up and start coming into the kitchen while I was getting things ready. And then I'm like, no, we all need to hear this. And so I just let it play. And you can just feel everyone settling. You know, there's it's just a calmer vibration than the hard rhythm and beat of a lot of what they currently listen to.
And it's better when they ask you, what is that? Versus you preaching, you know, because preaching is like Kali. In the Aquarian age, you just have to radiate light, and then everybody wants to know what's going on.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like it multiplies, you know, as I get more content and excited about my work and passionate about the people I'm meeting, and, you know, the networks and things start connecting, you can feel your own joy rises, and then others want to be around that joy. So it is contagious. I absolutely believe it.
Well, that's why when I met you that night, I mean, you are radiating a lot of light, you know. So I knew we would have fun when you invited me to do the interview. I said, of course I have to do this interview.
Thank you. I so appreciate your time. So do you want to pull your guitar out and play for us? You said you'd be willing.
You know, it was interesting, and I kind of recorded myself. All right, so we've been talking about love and fear. This is, I think we did this one, but it's a little bit different melody than I sang for this mantra in Cincinnati. But this is English, and it's called People of Love. We are the people.
Yes, I love this.
So I'm going to do a little sweeter version of it than it's a little hard to do the kind of rock and bluesy version without the band.
Yeah, no, it'll be beautiful.
And normally this is done call and answer, but you know, it's because the mantra is quite long, but after a while it's pretty catchy. It's we are the people of love. Yes. Let us people love today.
I love this song.
We are people of love. Let us people love today. Then you would sing. Or the audience. We are people of love. Let us people love today. How you guys? Come on, my brother, smile on your sisters. Let us people love today.
your heart. So beautiful.
I miss the band, you know.
You are
They're all
beautiful.
younger and more talented.
No, don't say anything like that. It's beautiful. It's just amazing to feel the joy that comes from you and comes from your band. I know the GuruGanesha band. Perhaps you could share as we wrap up, like how did that get started and where are you traveling to? How do people come see you?
Yeah, well, you know, I toured extensively with Sanatana for 11 years, from 2000 to it was like May of 2011. And the last couple of years, she was, you know, we were talking regularly, and there was definitely some creativity kind of happening inside me. And at a certain point, Sanatana said, GuruGanesha, you've got so much music inside you. You know, you've got to go out and share it, you know, because it's interesting, because I was always wanting to rock out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's so etheric.
Yes.
And so finally we got to the point where we kind of agreed. It felt like the universe was saying, you know, we parted on really beautiful terms. But it was like we were a river and we hit land, and the river broke up into two and kept going, and we kind of waved at each other. And it was clear that, yeah, I'd had this dream to have kind of a guitar-driven kind of
jam. A jam.
A jam band, like some of those great guitar-driven bands like the Dead and like the Eagles in the late 60s and the early 70s, because I love the guitar. And, you know, so Sanatana kind of knew it, and, you know, when it got to that point, I knew it. Also, I had a short-term but intense illness right about that time, which helped her and I conclude that this was the right time, you know. And so that fall at Satnam Fest in September of 2011 was the first performance of the GuruGanesha band.
Ooh, fun.
And it's evolved and it's evolved. In the fall of 2013, we did this beautiful 27-concert North American tour that we co-headlined with David Pramal and Me 10. It was a beautiful experience. Of course, their music is wonderful. And but we were playing for, you know, 1,000 to 2,000 people a show, and people were really responding to both sound currents, both entities, in a really beautiful way. And so it became clear to me that you know, there's a certain musical destiny there that, you know, I had to get out there and share this sound current. And so now we're in the process of, there's, you know, a kind of a benefactor manifested who's, you know, putting, you know, a lot of green energy behind the band. You know, I'm investing some green energy from my other business. And we're, you know, about to do it right. We're going to be rolling out a new album in February, but we're also going to be rolling out per song on the album, a special music video, because video is such an important medium these days. And I sent you a kind of a late stage sample of one. That's still undergoing some transformation.
Yes.
And then we're also in fact, it's this Friday, we have an all-day meeting of the team. We set up a company called Uplift Incorporated.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and under the umbrella of Uplift right now is the GuruGanesha band, but we may take on some other artists down the road. And, you know, so we're putting together, you know, just a beautiful, very forward-moving plan to get the music out there. So there'll be a tour schedule. There'll be at least a big West Coast tour next year, maybe West and East. But the final decision on that is being made this coming Friday. But there's going to be, we have sponsors interested. We'll be doing them in beautiful venues with beautiful sound, sound systems. And also we're going to have, as part of it, a video component that puts all the mantras up on the screen in a really beautiful way so everybody can fully participate. In Cincinnati, people were singing and dancing at the same time, holding the mantra sheets that we passed out.
That was so helpful. Oh, it was so helpful to have them written out so I could read what I was supposed to sing.
But it'll even be better if it's up on a screen right behind us so you can have your hands free to boogie, you know?
Absolutely. So if people want to learn more about you or find out the concert dates or, what is the best way for them to reach you or learn more?
Well, everything's going to be posted on the website, which is GuruGanesha.com. It's also GuruGaneshaBand.com, which funnels all to the same website.
Okay.
And then also right now, I have a Facebook fan page called, / Guru Ganesha Singh, SINGH, Guru Ganesha Singh. Everything's being overhauled. We're getting this wonderful person that's full-time going to be handling our social media. It's kind of an exciting period,
Yes, yes.
And so, my prayer is that, we can just get out there and really touch and have lots of evenings like we had in Cincinnati with you.
Well, put us back on your schedule for next year. We'll all be there.
Well, absolutely. Susanna won't let us not put but it's not even in question. Even if she didn't insist, we would definitely come back. It was so wonderful. The people are so grateful and joy-filled in Cincinnati.
Yes. Oh, what a delight to spend time with you and hear your stories. I have such gratitude. Thank you.
Is your story on one of the videos?
Somewhere in there you'll learn about me. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna click on that link and view some of the shows.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really just a collection of talking to people. Just talking to people of love. And
that's what we love the most, right?
Yes.
People of love, people of consciousness, people who are committed to doing the soul's work.
Yes. It is a joy to spend time with you. Thank you for hanging in there with all the technology also. I so appreciate it.
Love you.
And love to you also. Thank
Sat
you
Nam.
so much. Sat Nam.